Now let's move on to algebra. Now if you didn't get a good grasp of fractions, please do revisit the topic on fractions. With algebra, we're going to be working with two subtopics, quadratic equations and linear equations. The first topic that we're going to work with are linear equations. Let's work with this example here. 3x plus 2 is equal to x plus 6. When you have an example like this, you may be told to solve for x. Fine. So, in order to get x on its own, we must collect all the like terms. Let's collect all the x's onto the left-hand side of the equation and all the normal numbers on the right-hand side of the equation. When we do that, we end up something like this. What's happened here is that the normal numbers have moved to the right-hand side of the equation, so this number here was being plussed, so we minus it here, and we take the x to the left-hand side of the equation. It was being plussed here, so we minus it to get to the other side. Now we carry on and simplify, and we get this here. Now we notice that the x is being multiplied to this number here, so we divide both sides by the coefficient here, and we are left with what x is equal to on its own. Move on to quadratic equations. Let's work with this example here. We notice an x squared term, an x, and just a normal number with no x's or x squareds next to it. We also notice that it's equal to 0, and our job here again is to solve for x. So, what's the first thing that we're going to do? We need to factorise this equation, and the way that we do that first is just by writing two empty brackets next to each other and making that equal to 0. Now, x squared obviously means an x is being multiplied by another x. So that's the first thing we do, we put an x here and an x there. We look at our equation again. The last number here is a positive, and the middle number here is also a positive. We need to find two numbers that multiply together to give this number and add together to give this number. Fine, let's write down two numbers which can multiply to equal this number. We have them here. Now we have to work out the numbers which are going to add to give the middle number. So we choose this set of numbers. So place this number here and this number here, and that is equal to 0. Now, the easy part. You can take this first bracket and make it equal to 0, and this second bracket and make it equal to 0 again. We can now simplify this by saying x is equal to minus 9 and x is equal to minus 4. These are our two solutions. Now that is the simplest example of a quadratic equation that you can get. You can also get minuses in the quadratic equation. So all you need to remember in that scenario is to make sure that the two numbers multiply to a minus number and add to a plus number, or just make sure that they multiply to a minus number or add to a minus number. There's also a simpler method by using a formula known as the quadratic formula, written here. We have x is equal to plus b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Now the a's, the b's and the c's all correspond to the coefficients in the equation. Now you have a firm grasp on linear and quadratic equations. Let's move on to the next topic, ratios.